again, everybody. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the University of Kentucky Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson. Janet, we're talking cantaloupes today, and normally I just eat them by themselves, but you have other plans, don't you?
I do, Barry. You know, cantaloupes are in season and will continue to be in season throughout September. So we've got a window here that we can think about, what can I do with a cantaloupe except just slice it and eat it, which is wonderful to eat it raw or in chunks or with other fruits and combinations. But how about if we take that cantaloupe to a different level and use that as a substitute for oil in a quick bread?
Oh, wow.
And this could be something that the folks could do ahead of time to get ready for the holiday season or Halloween or some of the really nice fall get-togethers. So let's show you that alternative way. And we're talking about using, of course, just a cantaloupe, and this recipe, of course, is based on using a tiny cantaloupe, about 5 inches. So if you get a larger cantaloupe, you can, as you say, snack on it and maybe take half of it and actually use it in a quick bread like we're going to do. And this is a glazed cantaloupe bread, so let's start. And what we've done, Barry, is just take cantaloupe, like you say, and we've just taken it and taken the rind away. Now, I always want to caution people when they're working with a melon, Barry, to be very careful about washing that melon. And why do that? Many people may remember a couple of years ago when we had an outbreak of salmonella that was associated with cantaloupes. And it simply comes from the fact that when you pick that melon up and it's been laying on the ground or lying there and it has some mud on it or maybe some fertilizer, some organic fertilizer from the barn, as we know, then E. coli is very easy to transfer. If we were to take that melon, pick it up with the rind like this, slice into it, it's very possible that your hands or your knife could transfer some of those germs to your fruit.
So you're saying you need to wash the melon on the outside
on
before
the
you even start cutting?
outside, and take a vegetable brush and just get in that rind and do that. That's just an extra precaution that we used to not even talk about, but it's a real problem right now, so always do that, even if you're getting ready to just have it for a snack. Anyway, so that's our food safety sidebar to get started. So what I've done is just take a melon, and in this case, with the size of melon that we're using today, I only used half this melon. A 5-inch small cantaloupe is fine, and then what I've done is actually put that in a blender and puree the melon. So you're basically making a liquid cantaloupe, you know.
Or mushmelon, as some people call it, right?
Mushmelon. That's right, as we know. Absolutely.
My
as
dad
we
used to call them that.
Yes, as we say it in Allen and Monroe and Macon and Clay counties, some mushmelon. That's right. So what I'm going to do after I have done this, I'm actually, and I even did this ahead of time, Barry. You can put it in the refrigerator. You just want to kind of stir that up just a little bit. But you can see it's a nice, thick cantaloupe, not a juice. So we're going to measure out, I think, a couple of cups of that by the recipe as we see that in a liquid, of course, measure. And then we're going to take that and we're going to add that to a bowl. This quick bread is done with a 2-part process. So we're doing liquid ingredients, dry ingredients for the most part. So that's what we're going to do. And then, Barry, as I said, we're substituting fruit for the oil that you normally see in a quick bread. And so I'm going to add a cup of unsweetened applesauce. And we're letting the, the sugar kind of move away from the fruits. Now we are going to add some sugar in just a moment to this mixture, but we're not having extra sugar that comes from the applesauce product. And of course your cantaloupe has fruit sugar, but we're not, again, adding any more than we have to. I am adding a cup of sugar to this 3-cup mixture, And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of vanilla flavoring to this bread, just like most quick breads that people are familiar with. I think people, of course, now will also be using a recipe for zucchini bread. This is just kind of an alternative way to do that. So we're doing a tablespoon of vanilla extract in the mixture. So quick breads are wonderful in that they freeze well. They're great to make ahead of time. And you can pull those out if you're having people over. And normally I would tell those 4-H'ers not to do as I did and crack on the bowl, because you can often get some eggshell in there just to use a knife, but this is just between us today, right?
Exactly, and a few people who might be watching, yeah.
Yeah, and a few people that might be watching, that's right. But you can use a knife and that works even better. So we've got, to review, 3 eggs. We've got 2 cups of pureed cantaloupe.
Yes.
We've got a cup of applesauce. And we've got a tablespoon of vanilla extract and a cup of sugar. And what I'm going to do, just very quickly, it'll be a little noisy, but it will be done in just a sec, is kind of beat that up.
Right.
Okay, Barry, and you can see that with doing this step in the process that you want a deep bowl. Otherwise your product's going to go crazy
All over the place, yeah,
and it's going to jump out. So we've just kind of beat those eggs in with the liquid mixtures, okay? Kind of beat that up, and then we're going to now jump over here where you are, and I'm going to let you kind of help me so that we kind of stay out of the way here, and I want you to kind of measure this in a sifter. Now, I did this on purpose today. If you don't have an old-fashioned hand sifter, okay, you can use a very fine strainer. Now, very fine, not a colander that has the larger holes, of course, but this is a strainer, and this will work fine for a sifter. So it's multi-purpose like that. This is great when you're making teas and beverages and fruit teas, especially when you puree fruit and let it run through, and it's good. Okay, now to make this bread even healthier, what we're doing, it will be a little more compact but more healthy. We're taking, again, all-purpose flour, of course, and we're substituting half of the flour with whole wheat flour. So if it calls for 3 cups of flour, you can half and half your flours. And it adds more fiber and also will provide you an element of those vitamins that you get with a whole grain product like that. And you can do that with a quick bread, so half and half. If you are not so into the compactness that you'll get with this recipe, then you can maybe do 1/3 and 2/3. So, you know, just think about your proportions in your recipe. So I've went ahead and pre-measured 1½ cups of wheat flour and 1½ cups of plain flour. And I'm going to just put that here. Now, note that the recipe will say sift together. Sometimes a recipe will say sifted flour, which means that we would go ahead and start sifting that right now, but this says sift together, so we're going to add all the dry ingredients and then sift, so that they're combined better, like that. So just kind of watch your recipe and do as they say. And then we're doing, again, a teaspoon of baking soda and a 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, almost 1 to 1, but not quite. And we're doing a teaspoon of salt. So teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to add those things to the plain flours. Now, some folks may be saying, well, what if I use self-rising flour? I wouldn't do that if you're going to reproportion your flours. So this is where you're having to add your leavening yourself. So hold off that self-rising flour for other things.
Maybe for biscuits or something.
Right, biscuits. And then we're going to add a little spice to this because this is that bread, kind of like zucchini bread, that has a great flavor with spices. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and a half of teaspoon of ginger. Now you could vary and use cloves if you like that, but cinnamon and ginger in this case. So we're putting that in there, and again, we're going to sift that. And you want to do this?
Sure, I can do that.
I'll let you do that. You're just kind of
Give it our best shot,
shaking it and getting ready to bake it, you know. You're just sifting that and just kind of lightly keep that going like that. Very good, great. And then we're going to get ready to put that in with the liquid mixture that we did before. And like we say, this is sifting everything together, so you're combining the spices, the leavening agents, as well as the 2 flours together. So
I guess you don't do a good job unless you mess it up a little bit, right? In other words, some of it goes flying through the air.
Well, and you know, when you bake, it's inevitable that you're going to have a messy little kitchen. But we're trying to keep that under control here. To some extent. But I love cantaloupe, and I love it. I think you're really going to enjoy this recipe using not only applesauce, which a lot of people know about to substitute, but adding this fruit puree as well. So it's a great way to get the vitamins and that nutritive content in a quick bread, which most people are saying, I don't care about that. Does it taste good,
Does it
Janet?
taste good?
Yeah,
Yes.
does it taste good? It does, it does. Okay, so now Barry, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let you help me, and what
Okay.
we're gonna do is just kind of slowly add the flour mixture to this liquid
we're gonna put
mixture.
this
Yeah,
in there.
yeah,
Okay,
we're
my
gonna
bad.
do that, and just kind of slow, you can hold it up there, and then I'm gonna kind of stir, and then we'll add some more.
Sure.
But here we're just kind of combining this mixture, so you don't really even have to use your electric mixer, but just understand that a good, tall, deep bowl is good for this recipe, because you're actually making a couple loaves of bread.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do one, you could have this, but
Well,
why?
you might as well make two.
Might as well make two while you're at it,
Exactly.
and then be able to freeze one and be ready for another event. Okay, let's
Right.
put a little more
All
in
right,
there.
Sure.
And we'll just get it all in there.
Okay.
You know, baking takes a little bit of time, as we see, but this is something that you could do on a Saturday and kind of get this
College
ready.
football season's getting ready to start.
my gosh,
you
yes.
could be baking while you're watching the football game. you know?
Absolutely, or if you're going to the football game, you could get this ready the night before, and you could carry these for your tailgating party
Or for Friday nights.
or for Friday night football,
Or
high school
all of our
football.
local high school football teams. Yeah, that'd be a great thing to tailgate
Absolutely,
with.
absolutely, to have this great snack there that is very hearty and very tasty. And it's just delicious, and I think you'll love it there too. Okay, so see, we've just combined this just until all the ingredients are wet, and then we're simply going to take this and pour this in 2 loaf pans. And you know, Barry, what you do with loaf pans here is you want to get those ready for your bread not to stick when you bring
Right.
it out.
Right.
So doing and working with a little bit of work ahead of time is what you need to do. So how do you actually get that to work? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, and I'm going to try to get equal amounts in each pan.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to try to do, so that we have each pan proportioned in that way. So we'll just kind of look at that and kind of see where you are with each cup like that, and just kind of take that back and forth. Again, this is a great recipe to make ahead. That's what I keep going over that all the time, but if you're going to get your kitchen dirty, here's
Here's the recipe for it, right?
Here's the recipe for it, exactly, and to make that up. So now I'm going to just kind of take the last pieces and kind of use that spatula again.
Sorry, I took your spatula away from you.
Well, that's okay, Barry. You like that little spatula tool right there. You're very good at mixing, so I'll just use this tiny one and get the last in. Now, we preheated our oven to 325. That is a low oven, and these loaves are going to cook in about an hour.
Okay.
So we're going to put this in the oven right here. Okay. We're going to kind of set these over, and we've got a little bit of a messy kitchen, but Barry, I know that we're going to show the folks
We are.
exactly what we ended up with.
This
Here.
looks fabulous, doesn't it, Jan?
Yes, it does. You'll get 2 loaves of bread. They are a little more compact, as we can see here, because we're making 2 loaves. Now, if you wanted to make a bigger, taller loaf, you could put it all in one large loaf pan.
Okay.
Or, and what I really love, Barry, is that you can use the same recipe and make muffins. So you would just divide, again, the dough in the mini muffins.
In the muffins pan?
Yes, yes. But now I want to talk about the final step here. Yes, you can have a delicious bread, but the ultimate thing about this, Barry, we melt a 1/2 cup of butter and 2/3 cup of brown sugar
Okay.
in the microwave
Okay.
for 3 minutes, stirring after each minute just to make sure everything's combined. And what that does, it creates this wonderful glaze that we bring out. When your loaves come out, we pour this glaze over. Now, a trick to this, you want to get your loaves out of the pan after about 10 minutes to glaze, okay?
Okay, all right.
So I put them on a sheet, and I put them with some wax paper underneath.
Okay.
So when I'm pouring the glaze over this while they're still warm, only after 10 minutes of resting, then that allows me to catch drips, and I don't make a huge mess. And I can just throw the wax paper away. So that's a little tip on how to do this, and then allow the loaves to continue cooling for probably at least another 30 minutes.
And what do we
before
have
you serve
on
them.
the very top there?
That's the glaze that we're pouring on.
No, I mean,
because
is that pecans?
that's
or?
pecans.
Pecans, yeah.
So you have a choice. What I did was add a half a cup of pecans.
Okay.
Really, I added probably 2/3 cup.
Oh,
You'd
maybe-
add what you
maybe
want.
a whole cup, who knows?
Or maybe a whole cup, that's right. To the glaze, and then just kind of spread that over each loaf so that you've got this wonderful glaze. And the glaze, because you've cooked it in the microwave, begins
right.
to set.
Cool.
And so it makes this very shiny, pretty product, and some of it seeps down into the warm bread, and you're talking about a great product here,
Oh, yeah.
Barry.
And like you said earlier, this would be a great tailgating recipe.
It is. It's a great tailgating recipe. It's a great recipe that can serve as a quasi-dessert.
Sure.
If you wanted to put a little whipped cream with some cinnamon and put that on top, wonderful dessert too. A lower calorie dessert, let's put it that way.
There you go.
So there we go. This is an interesting way to use cantaloupe.
And who would have ever thought it? I mean, not me, I'm sure. I can guarantee you, not me. Well, hey, if you guys would like this recipe, it's oh so easy to get. You can do it in one of two ways. You can email me at North Central. My email address there is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or simply go to our website. It's www.nctc.com, and we'll make sure that this recipe is on there along with the video. So, hey, if you want to watch the video, and you know, you can just go right along with Janet and I and watch the video and maybe make it a great recipe for yourself. Make a great cantaloupe bread. It looks awesome. Does it taste as good as it looks?
It is delicious. Hands down favorite all across the state. Absolutely.
Good deal. Well, Janet, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Barry, for being here. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Oh, yeah. And take care, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Have a good rest of your day.